Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of the Mandatory Live. Thank you so much for rocking with us. If you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO, and you can also find us on the audio side as well. So, if you got a couple of minutes, leave a rate and review, give us a 5-star. And yeah, so wherever you find your shows, podcasts, you can listen to us as well and take us on the road with you if you're in your car, if you're walking, if you're at the gym, wherever. And also, if you already done all of that, thank you so much for supporting the show. Also, quickly, Bryan, before we get into everything, we've gotten like an influx of subscribers recently. And we just want to say thank you for everyone that has subscribed, that has, liked a video, left a comment, because that helps the show grow. And we definitely do appreciate you guys.
Plus one second that we'll get back to some of the pound for pound stuff. I saw some comments there. Somebody else had Colazo on their top 10, which I was
It was a Coach Mario who
yeah.
lives down in Florida, big supporter of the show. Shout out to you, Mario.
Yes.
He had a really good list, and he even added Tank in there.
We've
How
had some
did
good
he?
lists. We've had
Yes.
some people. This was live, and then also in the comments, we got some good lists. Go check that out if you missed it. That was our most recent episode. That was from last week, early last week. We did our pound for pound top 10 for the first time in a while. Both of us had interesting lists. A bunch of people were there live sharing their lists. It was a fun time. And now we have news. We have a bunch of news to get to. And we thought this week was going to be, and let's be honest, this month in general has been very quiet ever since the loudness of what we had experienced that first week. But since then, it's been dead. And now there have been 3 news items within the last 24 hours that have just trickled in, because we're like, are we really going to talk about this Caleb Plant Resendez fight? Which, we still could if you want us to. And we both like Caleb Plant very much. But Caleb Plant and Charlo should just be fighting each other and not just on the same card. Yeah. I also read that, by the way, I think Ring posted this, that they squashed their beef and now they're fighting on the same card. And it's like, I don't think boxing fans are just trying to hear that shit. I think boxing fans want them to fight each other and for there to still be beef so that it gets settled in the ring.
Yeah. So they don't have beef anymore?
Apparently not. And which is kind of crazy because, like,
if someone slaps you
on camera,
you would think, you would think there'd be some type of ongoing beef,
They're trying to push this card, which I understand. We said we weren't going to talk about it much. And this is not one of our topics, but like, look, Caleb Plant versus Jose Resendez, Jermall Charlo versus Thomas Lamana. Thomas Lamana, who's been in the game for a minute. I don't know why Caleb Plant just isn't fighting Jermall Charlo, but whatever.
And they're on the same card. Like, it makes no sense. But maybe it's a tune-up fight for them to eventually fight, but I don't know if that's going to be the case.
I'm over tune-up fights at this point.
Yeah, but sometimes you need them.
Was supposed to be a tune-up fight.
Yeah, sometimes you need them though, man. Like, especially
I agree, but
they're not as active. But like, for this particular card, if someone was to slap me in the face, I wouldn't want to be, co-headlining with them, or I'd want to fight them.
I want to fight them.
That's what the fans want to see. We want to see them get it on in the ring. But
I think Caleb, by the way, I think they would fight each other. I think this is more of just a promotional thing. Because look, he doesn't fight for a year and a half and then fights Trevor McCumbee. So I guess Trevor McCumbee is the comeback fight. And then this is the stepping stone fight. And then the fight is next. We just let shit marinate too much in this sport. But anyway.
There's other news that we have to get to.
Yeah.
But we were going to preview those fights, but I think maybe we'll mention it a little bit later in the show.
Those fight show if you want it. If you want it. But I'm letting you know right now, if the Knicks push this to 6.
We're not doing it. I'm just being honest. Like, I thought, and so hopefully the Knicks push it to 6 tonight.
We won't be able to do it because I'll be doing the watch along anyway.
Yeah.
I might even miss the card.
I probably won't see the card if the Knicks are playing. I'll watch it after, though, because I actually like Resendez. I think that's a tough fight. I think it's actually going to be entertaining, him and Caleb Plant. But let's talk about the news that recently came out. By the way, guys, this is an interactive show. So if you have any comments, make sure to drop them. We will be getting to your comments. I want to start off, Bryan, because I think this is probably the most interesting topic to me. I know you probably have another one, but Teofimo Lopez and Turki got into it. Teofimo Lopez ended up tweeting out that he got fired by boxing. Now, I know that you're probably wondering what exactly happened. So this is kind of the backstory. There were talks that Teofimo Lopez and Jerome Boots Ennis were going to fight, and they were trying to be in negotiations. This is a fight that I believe Turk was trying to make happen alongside Eddie Hearn. Now, I'm not quite sure what happened, but the fight fell through, and it was announced, not really announced, but reported that Jerome Boots Ennis wanted to move up to 154 pounds because the fight with Teofimo Lopez was going to be at 147 pounds. So Boots is thinking about moving up, and I mean, why not? Even though him and Teofimo Lopez would be an extremely big fight, Teofimo Lopez ends up calling Turk a dictator. Did you see that tweet?
I did. Well, it's mentioned in this story I have pulled up from a dude that actually follows me, and I follow him also, Johan Blanco. This is at Sports Illustrated. It just had a sort of summary of everything that went on. Marlon, I see your comment. We will get to Jaime Munguia's later in the show, but
yeah, we are going to get into that, Marlon. But
that's
really
on
quickly,
the docket.
Really quickly. So there happened to be some beef. He called Turk a dictator, DICK, tater, and
The tweet
and
is
then,
here. The tweet is here.
Okay, and then
Here
Teofimo
it is.
Lopez said that he was fired from boxing, but now there's a conversation being had that Teo and Devin Haney might be fighting instead of him and Jerome Boots Ennis. So let's get all into this, Bryan. You've got the article up there right now.
And a couple videos.
Yeah, and we're gonna break this whole thing down because it's deeper than just Teo having an issue.
It's
this
also
is massive.
Unfolding live,
Yes.
like because now there's apparently some measure of reconciliation that has since happened. But again, this moves very quickly, and with Teofimo Lopez, you just never know. You absolutely never know where this is going to go. So he calls Turk a dictator, and then Turk says in via translation, maturity is to realize most things don't deserve a reaction. This was shortly after, and there wasn't just a lot more to it than that. And then over here, we're going to share this tab instead. This is from, actually, let's go to Dan first. Dan Rafael exposes Teofimo Lopez tweets Turkey was a result of finding out the money for Boots Ennis fight was not the same as Devin Haney fight. And allegedly, some depending on who you believe, but it came out that Boots rejected the fight or whatever. The reporting was very spotty, so we can't go that deep with it. But with Dan, he's obviously hearing this from a good source. So let's hear what he had to say regarding this Teofimo Lopez situation.
And it got to a point where, again, I've not heard this from the Boots side, from Matchroom or whatever, but I'm told that in the end, Ennis decided that was a no-go, and that was the fight that Teofimo really wanted. And they had agreed, I guess, at least on, I don't know if the exact dollar figure, but they knew sort of the range of what they were going to make for that fight. And when the Ennis fight was not there, the money for the alternative, which was Haney, which is still a reasonable bout, was maybe not quite the exact same as what would have been there for the Boots Ennis fight. And
to your point,
it feels like Teofimo kind of agreed to the Haney fight, but got kind of irritated that the money wasn't quite the same. And that sent him off the cliff into writing all the crazy tweets. And I saw the videos he did that, Turkey fired him, or I got fired from boxing. I mean, he's kind of maybe lost his mind a little bit. So the bottom line is, whereas the Haney camp, from what I am told, was good to go, agreed to, all set, let's do it. Then it became a little bit of a problem because I would imagine that Turkey was not too pleased by the things that Teofimo not only posted, but clearly, I guess, understood at some point it was not proper for him to do that, and ended up deleting one of the tweets. And so I guess they're going to try to solve.
That's from Boxing Social. Also worth noting that the person who was streaming that video, 1% battery. That just annoyed the shit out of me while I was watching it. Also, we have Teofimo Lopez from this morning, apparently. We don't apologize. We just show love. I love you, Turkey. I want to love you so good, Turkey. All Diddy. Wink, winks at the camera. Let's listen.
We don't apologize. We just show love. All right? We so good, Turkey.
I hope we don't get flagged for this.
All Diddy.
Wait. This is from Teofimo Lopez's IG Live.
We'll be together.
All right. Like
Oh my God, yeah.
he is a fucking mess. Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, let's kind of break it down because the issue is here. He was promised the Duran boots and his fight from Turk. And Turk was like, we're going to give you a blank amount of money. Ennis decides that he's going to move up at 154 pounds. Let's just say that he does because it hasn't been confirmed, right? This is all reported. This is all rumors. So Ennis didn't take the fight. There's a conversation there to be had as well that we'll get to after. Then he gets offered the Devin Haney fight, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like Devin Haney fight's then on the table, but the money is not the same.
Yep.
So here's the thing, Bryan. If I'm doing business with you and you promise me something and you promise me a certain amount of bread and then that falls through and then you're like, don't worry, I got something else for you. I'm thinking probably like, okay, I'm going to get like the same amount of bread here because let's be serious. Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez is still a massive fight. And then the money goes down. And here's the thing that no one's really talking about. I'm not mad at how Teofimo Lopez acted about that. Because let's be serious here.
Other than the video we probably just saw.
I mean, like, yes, because at the same time, I think he's trolling a little bit, though, too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope it's that rather than what Marlon says in the comments, which I'll post right now, where he says Teofimo or Teo's definitely mentally ill. He needs help. No funny shit. I try not to jump to that.
Yeah.
But it's like we don't know, and you don't want to be too late to these things. You know what I mean? He acts in a very questionable manner a lot, where it's like it feels deliberate, it feels trolling, it feels calculated in a way that's not how I would go about my business. But
here's the thing:
it feels like it's intentional, but we don't know. Yeah. It may also not be because listen, with boxing, you just never know because ultimately this is a sport of crazy people. Not crazy in like a demeaning way, but like these people are nuts.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing though too is that like he's still young, right? So it's just like he acts out. He's had this popularity for an extremely long time. And so when you have that popularity and you have that money, when you're that young, you're going to act in a certain way and we're going to see it play out. And sometimes it's not the healthiest, but I'm not a doctor to say that he's got this and that. All I know is that he was promised a certain amount of money and then that was taken away from him. And I think that's kind of the issue. That is the issue because there is somebody in boxing right now that is giving us these fights, whether they're entertaining or not, because as we saw not too long ago, some of those fights weren't very entertaining, but we were getting them. But he's controlling every aspect of the sport in that way.
Except women's boxing.
Yes, except women, because I mean, obviously, he might not even want to control that. Right? For obvious reasons here. Let's be serious.
So we're not defending him, by the way.
Yeah. I'm just saying that
there's a lot of unknown here, to be honest.
I know I'm not defending Teo, but I'm just saying that like if I was promised a certain amount of money and you promised me this fight and you promised me this money and then you said, listen, there's another fight on the table, but I'm not going to give you the same amount of money, I'm going to feel some type of way because I'm still putting my life on the line when I get into the ring. Right? I'm not saying how Teo acted was mature. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not defending him. My issue here is we're seeing this play out, and this is not going to be the first time that someone comes at Turk. It's not going to be it's not going to be the last time.
Hasn't been the first time either.
Yeah. So for me, I just feel like more things are going to come out about Turk and how he does business. And as boxing fans, we're loving it right now because we're getting fights. I don't know how long this is sustainable. And at some point, people are going to get pissed off. And when someone has too much control over something, what usually happens? It goes south.
It's happened. Look, the UFC product has diminished a little bit, and UFC has a monopoly. The WWE product, which I thought has been really, it has been stronger the last few years, but that's starting to take a little bit of an interesting turn because of the amount of sponsorships and how much of a monopoly they have over their sport. Same thing with MMA and UFC. And then here, they're not going to have a total monopoly on the entire sport just because it looks like the monopoly on women's boxing is going to go through MVP and Salida because they're the only ones signing women right now and are going to promote them. We had Franchon Cruz-Zern on the show. Obviously, they have Clarissa Shields, and they've just signed some others. MVP has a card and a half at Madison Square Garden, just women, coming up in about 6 weeks or so, roughly. As it pertains to this, I think it's funny. You mentioned the money aspect of the Devin Haney fight. I think that there are casual boxing fans who would say Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney is a bigger fight than Teofimo Lopez and Boots Ennis because they're not that familiar with Boots Ennis, which is a crime because we would all say, yeah, Boots is pound for pound, like as talented as those guys. He hasn't proven it yet against the same level of competition, but the projection is that he's going to be like one of the greats at least, and he's the best in his weight class right now.
He should be a face in boxing. He should be a bigger name. And we all watch boxing, and the people that watch this show are some of the most intelligent people. You guys are always leaving some of the best comments. You guys know how good Boots is, but you know what's also entertaining? Teofimo Sr. and Bill Haney going at it. Like, this would just be pure entertainment from the fathers, you guys. Okay, this would not just be Teofimo and Devin Haney. Bill would be up in there speaking for Devin because Devin's a nice kid, you know?
Yeah.
This would be, I think it's a bigger fight, and they also have more of a history. Like, Teo and Devin came up together. Like, they've known each other since they were kids. There's been talk, and listen, Bryan, you were at one of those press conferences, I think with Teofimo Senior, when he was talking about, yeah, we would want the Devin Haney fight. You were at that press. I forget which one it was, but
this is before Teofimo Lopez fought Josh Taylor here in New York City. This was already 2 years ago. And I have the video of Bill Haney. I probably posted it. Bill Haney, Teofimo Sr. basically agreeing to the fight, which, again, agreed upon fights. I tell you guys this all the time. Fights that are agreed upon are bullshit because, like, until you have a date, a venue, it's signed, it's all bullshit in this sport. The most interesting things to me in this in particular is just Teofimo Lopez is crashing out again, speaking out again, and putting himself in hot water again, and just this is part of the Teofimo experience. And then going against Turk, who has all the money, but as time goes, as we've been saying for a while at this point, you're going to start to see more cracks in that shield, and more guys are gonna start speaking out about it. You're already seeing it from a media standpoint too, with Paulie Malignaggi and Tim Bradley, but that's going to extend beyond that if people have the courage to actually do so. Let's put up some comments. Okay. XL, not to take us off topic, we won't get into this deeply, but he says, I'm just running in. Shantelle, Bryan, Pacers take it today if Brunson continues to ball hog. New York Post Sports YouTube account, watch along. I'll be live. We'll be doing the watch along for Game 5. We'll see what happens. That'll be tonight, and that is why we're doing this now. Shantelle, you were saying something, but you were on mute.
Well, it's good because you were talking. So it's good that I was muted there and I made a mistake. I am wearing my lucky Screwball shirt. So hopefully we win today. I'm very superstitious, you guys. Last time I wore this, they won. Okay. So hopefully they get it done. If they don't, I might have to take a little bit of a break from the show. No, XL said, so was Teo offered more money for Haney or Boots? He was offered more money for Jerron Boots Ennis.
According to what's out there. Afro Soul says different opponents call for different purses. Why are we even debating this? Question mark. I'm a little confused at the question, but I get it to some extent. I don't know what you mean, Afro Soul. I don't know, like what are you getting at there? Clarify it in the comments, please. And you say, unfortunately, Teo doesn't seem to fancy a Devin matchup. I mean, look, I'm not fiending for Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney. I'm just saying, and we're just saying, like, this has been discussed for years at this point. And I don't give a shit either way. Like, I just want to see if they're gonna fight each other. I would like to see them actually try to fight each other, and not just like do the shit that they did in Times Square. XL
If
says,
they did that, I think I would like want to jump off a hill or something. Like I would be so disappointed. And here's the thing: they're both kind of chinny now, guys. Right? Like Taylor's been dropped before. We saw what happened to Devin Haney, but I would hope that they would make it an entertaining fight. I would hope Devin Haney would fight like how he did against Loma.
the funny thing is, we've talked about Teofimo Lopez being or struggling with guys who move, and Devin Haney post Ryan Garcia. You saw him against Jose Ramirez. Like, that dude was moving around the ring.
Yeah,
So
but Devin is really talented,
though. I think that fight could actually be really boring.
That's my worry, and maybe that's why Teo doesn't want it. But I mean, he gave us him and Steve Claggett. So could it be any worse? He gave us him and Jermaine Ortiz, and that wasn't
Jermaine Ortiz. Struggled against Sandro Martin. I keep saying, like, his resume at 140 is not awesome. And
Sandro Martin's a tough fighter, though. Like, he's such a tricky fighter. So
he almost won the fight.
Yeah.
Presumably, this fight would also be at welterweight because it looks like Devin Haney. He's wanted to be at welterweight for some time. He's tweeted out. XL, let's get to his comment. Tail speaks so much on the business side of boxing, so he should know different opponents bring different value and pay. If that's the reason he's acting like a brat.
But he is a brat, XL. Like, he's like the biggest brat in boxing. Is he not?
I think I don't think this is a you got to take side situation. I think Teo's acted like a doof, and Turk, there's some questions there. I think both guys could be wrong. AfroSoul says, to clarify, I'm saying, why are we defending Teo being an idiot, acting fake, shocked that the money went down after a change in opponent? Would he expect to be paid the same if he was to fight Hitchens instead?
I'm such a nerd. I would think that Hitchens Teo fight would be good. I'm such a geek. However, here's the thing. I still think Devin Haney has cachet. That's like some stuff going out outside. That's what happens when you live in the city. But
I mean, to be, Haney's a name still, but Afro, that's not the biggest. That's not I don't care about. I almost don't care about that part of it. Like, I don't think we're defending Teofimo Lopez for acting out. We're just saying, like, yo, if Turk is going to handle his business a certain way, then that's going to come off as shady to a lot of the boxers he's claiming to do business with, while an alleged promotion is being formed where the purses were put out and it didn't look great. Like, there's just a lot of layers to this where I don't think it's one thing or another thing or another thing. And by the way, the alleged promotion with Dana White seems to be on hold because they're not even there's reports about them not even working together now because the Crawford Canelo fight's supposed to be promoted differently than it was intended. That was supposed to be a TKO boxing event, and it looks like it's just going to be Sella. So,
also, AfroSoul, just really quickly, I'm not defending Teo. I just was saying about the money part, and that's more about Turk. I'll just say it. My issue is with Turk. That's my whole thing. Like, I'm just gonna say it right here on the show because I don't actually think any of this is sustainable. And I know that the argument is going to be, well, he's giving us the fights. Okay, how long is he going to be giving us those fights? How long is he going to be spending this bread? There's so much more that's underneath all of this that, some of it's political, some of it is other stuff that we're not really getting into because there's a lot of depth to this conversation.
We have videos on this already.
Yeah, but my whole thing is not we know Teo's acting crazy a little bit, right? He's crashing out. We've seen Teofimo Lopez do this before. Some of it's entertaining. Some of it, it's he's being a total brat. He might need help. There's different layers to it. But my issue alone is we're seeing him beef it out with Turkey. And I feel like this is not going to be the last time we see a boxer beef it out with Turkey. I think we're going to see this more often now.
Use a different term, please.
What? Beef it out with Turkey?
All right, Marlon. I want Devin Teo to fight. They have history, plus he's on Devin's hit list. It's possible Devin's hit list. If it's possible, Devin's hit list is legit and should be respected. Okay. I don't believe anyone's hit list, but I mean, Teo is on. I think they would fight each other, but I mean, to me, this is two parties not looking great. Teofimo Lopez has crashed out before. He's doing it again, and Turkey's had some shady business things before, and he's probably gonna.
What's the worst when a Turk is putting on a fight? AfroSoul says, by the way, a good friend of the show and has left some really good comments. Oh, I forgot. Chantel's not fond of turkey. You know what I think it is? I think it's like just the little things that piss me off. Number one, the politics in Saudi, I'm not a fan of. I've been very outspoken about that.
You're not alone.
Number two, like when fighters are down, he'll be like, "You're down on the court. Like, just shut up. Like, stay out of it." Right? Or when
With Hamza Shiraz.
yeah, like I just don't like that stuff. Like, you never see like, you just never see promoters do stuff like that. And it's just like, I understand everyone's like kissing the ring. People are calling him,
that's what it is.
Excellency
That's what it
and
is
all
for
this
me.
stuff. And it's just like, like I get it. We're getting the fights, but there's so much more to it. And if I go missing, it's because of what I just said. Now, Bryan, take it away.
He's just a weirdo. All right. Next, we're going to Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas is getting a title shot. As expected. We said it here. I said it here on this show. I don't remember how many weeks ago it was, but it was probably after Xander Zayas' last fight. And then it was like, he's a mandatory contender and he could fight Sebastian Fedora next. And I was like, one of two things are going to happen. Sebastian Fedora is actually going to take this fight, unlikely, or Sebastian Fedora is going to vacate the title and Xander is going to fight for the vacant WBO, the top ranked special, for the championship against whoever the other top contender is. It was going to be Charles Conwell. Charles Conwell messed up the opportunity by losing to Jorge Garcia. And now, perfect storm of events. Xander Zayas, Jorge Garcia, vacant WBO title, officially announced. It's going to be in New York City. Let me pull up the press release. The press release was in my email, but I'm not going to share it from my email because I have so many unread emails.
Are you like one of those guys that's like 3,000?
No, I have 20,000.
Oh my god, that's worse than mine. Mine's like 3,500. That's terrible. That's worse than mine, dude.
I have more than 20,000 unread emails in my main email. That's not even my backup email. I have multiple backup email accounts. It's just,
he's got burner accounts, guys.
It's a mess.
He just told us.
No, because I have one that's like a dumping ground where it's like,
like you go to the mall and they're like, "What's your email?" And then you give that one, right?
Yeah. It's literally a secondary email account. Drop how many unread emails you have in your email accounts.
Let us know that we're not the only unorganized ones. Let us know, guys.
So July, by the way, stacked month. We talked about this already a little bit. You have the Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor 3 card at the Garden. You have Hamza Shiraz, Edgar Berlanga the day after. Shakur Stevenson is also going to fight on that card against William Zepeda, which is arguably the better fight, but not the main event. Manny Pacquiao is returning, fighting for a title. Oh, against Mario Barrios, which is just fucking stupid. There are other fights that month, and this is one of them. I lost my train of thought after I was reminded of the Manny Pacquiao. He should not be fighting for a title. He hasn't won in 6 years.
Wait, hold up. Afro Soul says every iPhone user I know has no less than 2K unread emails. Yeah, like I don't know why. Like it's just it's a thing.
I have an Android. Championship ranks Puerto Rican star Xander Zayas to battle Mexico's Jorge Garcia for WBO junior middleweight crown July 26 at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So I will try to go, obviously. We're not going to read this entire thing, but here's the main portion of it. Zayas will take on upset-minded Mexican puncher Jorge Garcia, vacant WBO title. More on this card, by the way, because there's more from the card that got announced, and I also have it pulled up here. In the co-feature, Bruce Shushu Carrington will take on unbeaten Nambian Mateus Heita. Probably butchered his name. Haven't seen him fight a ton, but have heard of him. Will collide for the interim WBC featherweight championship. So Bruce Carrington is getting a title shot too. It's an interim title shot, but he's getting a shot now. And I would say a curated opponent, but nonetheless, this is great for him. Emiliano Vargas, your boy, is returning against Ecuador's Alexander Espinoza. That is going to be a junior welterweight showdown. So those are your 3 televised fights. It's going to be on ESPN, 9 p.m. Eastern, which is good because that means Xander will probably be fighting around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I probably won't get home that late, assuming I cover it. And then they have quotes and yada, yada here. And then over here, we have the card. Part of it, at least, because there's going to be more than 5 fights. But Xander Zayas, Jorge Garcia, Perez. We'll look at Perez's record, Garcia's record rather.
Wait, that's not the main event. It's Bruce Carrington.
No. Xander's the main event. It's just box
Okay.
rec sometimes, like because
Okay.
the way their ranking system is, like it's a little funky. But Xander's the main event. Emiliano Vargas here. Julius Ballo, very, 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 very hyped prospect. Not saying he's going to be great or whatever, but like I don't know how he's going to be as a pro. We'll see. I don't get the sense that he's going to record a lot of knockouts. Very hyped prospect. He was supposed to make his debut already. He got injured. They pushed it back. Presumably, he's going to make his debut on this card. And Juanma Lopez de Jesus, who had a controversial win actually in this last fight, 2-0. He's going to be back on this card. So, initial thoughts, Shantelle. What do we think? Xander's getting a shot against Jorge Garcia, who's lost to Carlos Ocampo in the past, but he beat Charles Conwell. What do you think?
This is a tough fight for Xander Zayas. I don't think it's a layup for him, but I think we all kind of knew that he was going to get a shot, and now it's happening because Sebastian Fundora ended up vacating his title, and there was talks that he was Sebastian Fundora's mandatory, if I'm not mistaken, at one point. That was the fight that was supposed to go down. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. And then and instead of fighting Xander Zayas, he vacated the title, which I predicted.
Which is wild, guys, because like
he wants to fight Tim Tszyu again.
I know, but like I swear the bigger fight would be Sebastian Fundora and Xander Zayas, because like Mexico, Puerto Rico, I would have loved to see it. I think it'd be a really good matchup. And I think those matchups, when you think about those rivalries, are always the best. I get why he's having this rematch with Tim Tszyu. And, you know, after Tim Tszyu seemed like he was kind of falling off a little bit.
I don't get this rematch with Tim Tszyu, actually.
Well, I think there's money there because they'll probably do it in Australia, right?
I get, but here's the thing, like, okay, maybe I understand it. Actually,
and then also, wait, hold on. And also remember, I truly believe if Tim Tszyu didn't get cut, because remember there was that nasty cut that happened when their heads clashed.
That's why
I think the fight would have went different. And that's just me. But I do think that Sebastian Fundora finally fought like how I wanted him to fight in that fight. Like he wasn't trying to box on the inside the whole time. He was using his length and his size and fighting at a distance. And I think that bode very well for him. But I still believe if Tim Tszyu did not have that head clash and have all that blood coming out, it'd be different. Because he was like, remember wiping his blood out of his eyes? It was bad.
It was bad. I agree with you, by the way. But I also think in looking at this, like, Coach Mario leaves a comment I want to get to. But I would also say something similar about Tim Tszyu, just from the standpoint of he just beat Joey Spencer after getting knocked out twice, or after getting knocked out by Murtazayev and then losing to Fundora before that. So he gets a title shot immediately because, you know, he won an Intercontinental title. WBO one. He's not fighting for the WBO title, but like it's just a little confusing as to how we got here. But at Fundora, I mean, he's, I think, playing with fire with choosing this rematch. But okay, I mean, all right, Xander Zayas gets a title shot. Now, in terms of the ranking question about it, let's actually pull up the rankings. We're gonna do this right now.
And also, let's pull up Coach Mario's comment and then get to the rankings. And by the way, Coach Mario, good friend of the show, thanks for joining us on the live. We always see your comments and we appreciate you supporting.
So, completely covering my face, but it's fine. Zayas is not ready for any of the top champions at 154. How's he ranked number 1? He hasn't fought any top 10 opponent or former champion. Slava Spomer was ranked in the top 10. And I know at one point he was ranked higher than Xander Zayas in the IBF, but I think as Zayas kept winning, that flipped. And that was his most recent opponent. I don't know if he's not ready for any of the champions. Looking at the rankings here, like, by the way, against Fundora in particular, like that's not a fight where I would fear for Xander Zayas. The ones otherwise, it's like Murtazayev. Yeah, that's a little shaky.
Yo, that's a tough fight.
Yeah,
like don't sleep on him.
To be fair, though, I also don't think he'd fight the way Tim Tszyu fought, which is basically like, yo, I'm Tim Tszyu, I'm all action also, and I'm going to just run through this guy. And Murtazayev was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it got him out of there in 3 rounds. I think Xander Zayas would navigate that differently. I don't know if he'd win that fight, but I think he has enough boxing ability to have at least a smarter game plan than Tim Tszyu. In the rankings, I mean, look, Charles Conwell was up there and he's dropped to number 10. You see it right here. Jorge Garcia is number 2. This is kind of what it is. And Coach Mario, you know this. If you're a top rank, the WBO is a very favored organization. You know what I mean? Even Miguel Cotto's first title, as he was coming up through the ranks, albeit he fought better competition, he won a WBO title. I think he even entered second for that fight.
I will say, though, that I think this is a tough fight for Xander Zayas. A very tough fight. I don't think it's going to be a layup for him. And I think his performance in this one matters. And it's not going to be an easy fight at all. Jorge Garcia is a puncher. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
My bad. I thought I flipped it. Actually, I wasn't on mute, then I muted myself. This is great. So we've both done it on this show at least once. Jorge Garcia, 33-4, 26 knockouts, no doubt a puncher. Also in his prime years, presumably. Look, you want to train like a Nick this summer? 28 years old, 6 feet tall also, so he'll probably have a reach advantage into this fight. We'll see. But he's on a run. He's on a very nice run. He hasn't lost since 2023, but he's been very, very active. You have 8 straight victories, half of them by knockout. And also, before this, as I mentioned earlier, he had lost to Carlos Ocampo, which is probably the most high profile.
But he's also very tough. Let's keep that in mind. He's extremely tough. Like, this is not going to be a layup for Xander. Xander's going to have to break him down round by round. But I actually like Jorge Garcia's fight style, obviously. He's a tough Mexican fighter. Yeah. So I'm actually really excited for this fight. And I think it's a very good fight. And then if Xander is able to get it done, I'm not even counting out Jorge Garcia, though, because like I said, tough fight. But I think there's some really interesting fights to be made at 154 pounds then, Bryan.
He's never been stopped. And I think this is another thing like people are worried about. Like before, I'm like, Xander has everything but knockout power. He has some pop in his punches, but he's not somebody he's an accumulation of punishment, break you down type of finisher if he's going to finish you. But I think he's going to win a good amount of decisions. So that's sort of the question I have about Xander is like, as you get to this world-class level now, how are you going to be able to handle a Virgil Ortiz, assuming that fight happens? Conversely, for Virgil Ortiz,
sign me up. Like that's the fight I want. That's the fight that I want as a fan. I want Xander Zayas. I want Virgil Ortiz. And you think about the rivalry, right? That's the fight that I think we all want to see. Let's quickly get to a comment, though. A couple of comments. Good friend of the show, Brewski, says, catching y'all for a quick sec at work, but shout out to the mandatory for holding it down. As always, Brewski, we appreciate you.
Yes.
Let's also go back to Coach Mario, because I think this is a very interesting comment. Do you guys think Zayas beats Bohachuk or Madrimov? I don't. Those are 2 really tough fights, but I think the trajectory for Xander Zayas is what you talked about right there, Bryan. He doesn't have that, like, he's not a knockout artist, but what he does is he breaks you down and he has all the skill in the world. That's a tough fight for him now because we haven't really seen Xander Zayas in massive fights. And I think those are very tough fights, but also very big fights. I think it would be close to say I want to see him against Jorge Garcia first.
Mm-hmm. I think it could be both those dudes, to be honest with you. The dude that I'd be most worried about for him in this weight class is probably Murtazayev. We're not including
that's not going to happen.
Including Terrence Crawford. Yeah, we're not even including Terrence Crawford. Tellez is interesting. Fundora, WBC champion, Virgil Ortiz is the interim. Are they going to fight each other? I'm not super worried about, like, I think Fundora, like, he has a title. Remember, we were talking about this fight before with Tim Tszyu, and we were like, how are 2 titles involved in this fight? Like, where did that happen from? You know what I mean? Where Tim Tszyu had a title, and then all of a sudden this became a unification out of nowhere. And it was just, I don't even know how we got to this point, but I think he beats Fundora. Madrimov is tricky. I think he beats Bohachuk.
I think he beats Madrimov by like split decision, or it's really, really close.
It's close, yeah. But he's also still like, I do want to see him against Garcia, how he navigates this, because it's not a given. Look, Top Rank could do what they do and set you up, but like Christopher Diaz has fucked up this spot before. Like he lost, I believe it was Masayuki Ito, where it was like, all right, here's your super featherweight championship. We've been building you as one of these next Puerto Rican stars, not in the way like Xander Zayas was, because honestly, Xander Zayas is a better all-around prospect and was younger at the time compared to when he's getting the title shot versus when Diaz was getting the title shot and Diaz lost that fight. And it was in Orlando. Like it was in, or Kissimmee. It was in home base, basically, and didn't end up winning the title. Later got beaten by Shakur Stevenson, and he hasn't been like championship level ever since. So no, I think Zayas gets overly criticized by some of his detractors, and I think some of the Puerto Rican zealots like have to also like, yo, don't call him the next Trinidad. Don't call him the next Cotto. Like, let him be who he's gonna be, you know, because I also think stylistically he's not that. But he's 22, he got here. And this is a legit fight. Like Jorge Garcia is legit. He's tough. And we're going to learn a lot about him. If this is like a split decision he ekes out, then it's like, all right, so he's better than Jorge Garcia. He's better than Charles Conwell. But then I'll look at some of these other matchups and be like, you know, I don't know. So we're going to learn based off this next fight, like what to expect out of Xander Zayas.
Yeah. And I don't think Xander Zayas you can consider him at this point like a prospect at all. Like it's been a few years removed from that, right? Yeah. So I think what we're going to see from him in this fight is going to be the most interesting because we're going to learn so much about Xander in this particular fight because it's not going to be a layup for him. It's going to be a tough fight. Jorge Garcia is a tough dude, and it'll be interesting to see how Xander Zayas navigates it. And after we see that, I think we can kind of see how he might be able to fight a guy like Virgil Ortiz or something like that, because I don't know who I would pick in that fight. If, you know, and I think that's the fight to make. And I think they could give us a couple of fights between those two. That's how big of a fight I think that is. Bryan,
and Virgil Ortiz also fights like he's gonna run into somebody who's gonna outbox him at some point, and it's just a matter of whether or not that person is Xander Zayas. You have to have a chin to do it, but like I've seen Virgil Ortiz have close calls in the past. You know,
that's why I like him, though. To be honest with you,
I think, but I'm saying like this expectation that he's going to absolutely just run through Xander Zayas.
No,
I'm not there.
I just don't know who I would pick in that fight. Right? That's my only issue for that fight. I know who I'm going for in that fight. I'm going for Virgil Ortiz, guys. I'm just going to say it right here, right? And if you watch the show, like obviously I would go for Virgil Ortiz, because that's the fight style I like. But I think I like Virgil because he does make mistakes, but at the same time, he's been able to be resilient in those moments. I like the way he fights. I like the work rate, and he has the power. So it'll be interesting. And I think Xander Zayas fights in a completely different way. Super skilled, has a good jab. He does some great body work, and he kind of breaks you down round through round. And so I think it makes for an interesting fight. And I think that's the fight to make. But at this point, I just don't know who I would pick to win. But I know who I would be rooting for, essentially.
I think Garcia is also an attempt to get him ready for
Virgil.
That, not just him, but like those styles of fighters are what is at the top of 154 right now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of action guys. So Xander has to prove that he can outthink, outsmart, outbox those guys and also sustain their offense. So Garcia is going to be an interesting developmental test for that.
I'm excited for this fight.
Me too.
Guys, drop your comments. Let us know what you think about this fight and how you might be betting it, who you're rooting for. And if you think Zayas matches up well against the top guys at 154 pounds, because I definitely think that's a conversation. Bryan, any final thoughts before we move on to the next subject?
Just a quick glance to see if there are any odds up now that it's been announced. Oh, Xander Zayas minus 215.
Okay, so they got this pretty close.
So they're like, listen, Xander's a favorite, but
not too big of a favorite.
And look, there's a world where he just can't take the offense. Like that can happen. I would lean toward him winning on points, but he has to be able to take the offense, and he can get his defense. He does some things really well, but he can also get hit.
All right. So quickly, TJ, good friend of the show, says, Hey, TJ, thanks for joining us. Let's get back to Coach Mario. He's given some good content for us right now. So Bryan, I'll let you take this one away.
I've been watching Zayas develop since he was a kid here in Miami. One hell of an amateur boxer, but as a pro, I don't think he's elite or ready for the elite. My own personal opinion. Great show, by the way. We appreciate it, Coach Mario. What I would ask you is, Do you think this is a situation where he's not ready today at 22, but could be ready at like 25? And this is a situation of him being rushed? Or do you think he's just not going to have that in him? You know, I would say right now he's one of the best guys in this 10 guys in this division. This fight will tell us if he's a top 5 guy in this division. I think probably. Just by virtue of him having a title.
I think the issue is that we just haven't seen him against the best competition, right? Like we've seen Xander win fights. We never seen him lose yet. And we've seen the skill. I think we just haven't seen him against top competition, but now we're finally going to see it. So this is where we're going to learn if he's ready. He's still so young. And so I think there's, a little bit of space for him to obviously grow. But thank you, Coach Mario, for dropping that comment and for the kind words as well.
And the other thing is just last part of this, because I know we're going long on this, but also the level of competition he's fought hasn't been amazing, but it's not like he's losing rounds either. That's the other thing. Like he's not out here like just scraping by. He didn't have a Charles Conwell performance. He hasn't had one like that in his career. Coach Mario adds, not ready now, maybe, just maybe in the future. Tito at this age was I can't compare him to
But listen to what Marlon said. Marlon 2631 says he's only 22. Some are ready early, some are ready later. I think both can be true.
He turned pro at 16. I think Tito might have turned pro at 17. And Tito, like you saw it right away. The thing with Tito, though, he was chinny. Like he got dropped really bad by, I'm forgetting dude's name from France, but really bad early on in his career. Got up and fucked him up. And then we later learned, like, oh, he just does that. He gets dropped early on in fights. It gets up and fucks people up. He had some holes in this game as well. But we'll see. I think Xander's it's technically like solid. And we're going to see like what level he gets to. I do think he's improving, but we have to see him be pushed more. And maybe Garcia's the guy to do it.
You guys, I think the tough thing for Xander Zayas is that he's going to get comparisons to guys like Tito and Miguel Cotto because everyone's waiting for the next Puerto Rican boxing superstar, even though it is Amanda Serrano. But like everyone's thinking about like who's next up. And there's so much of this added pressure. And then people want Xander Zayas to perform a certain way. And that's why you just got to let him be him. And we have to see him develop as a boxer. But I think, to be honest with you, I think he is going to be the most criticized and probably have the most pressure when I think about it because of the names that are surrounding him.
Yeah,
it has to be the most pressure. Like, so that's another factor that I think has to be played in this, in his mental toughness, because when you're compared to those type of names, it's not easy, man. And people are expecting, great things from you. And he's so young. So I think he's handled it pretty well. Let's get over to Miles Livingston. Thank you for dropping a comment and joining us. He's a good fighter. He's kind of like an Elijah Garcia, though. In a low talent weight class, he could be champion, like how Mario Barrios is. I've always liked Mario Barrios, guys, but I get it. I think Xander is a lot better than people are giving him credit for, but I want to see him in this fight because I think he's very skilled. I think he has all the attributes to be a champion, and we just have to see it play out.
Yeah, I think we did it. I think we can move to our final topic. I wouldn't say 154 is low talent necessarily, especially when compared with 147 and 160 right now.
147 is not popping right now, guys.
Not great.
But some guy that maybe popped something. Jaime Munguia tested positive for PEDs after his rematch against Bruno Sarase.
Not great.
This is not good news. He is supposed to give his B sample within the next 10 days. But Bryan, your thoughts on this, and how does this taint Jaime Munguia's career if it does come back and it shows that he did take something?
Well, unfortunately for Jaime Munguia, his win over Bruno Saras might be tainted. Now, it's funny, when you watch that fight, he looked like he was fighting, like there was like a lack of power there. You know what I mean? Like it was like, he doesn't look like himself.
But he wanted it. You know what's kind of wild is
he's trying to box supposedly or whatever.
You know what's kind of wild, and I hate to say this, but like Bruno Sarase or Saras, he was supposed to be like a layup for him, essentially, right? You take PEDs against Bruno Saras.
He
He
has,
didn't
like,
even take it against Canelo.
right.
Like,
And he got knocked out by Bruno Saras, who was like Bruno Saras, like leading up to their first fight, had like -6 career knockouts. Like there was like nothing there and he just caught him, and that was it. And then in the rematch, Jaime Munguia won, although he gave up some rounds in that fight. Like it got a little dicey at some points, but then he finished strong. So from Boxing Scene, from Jake Donovan, confirms Boxing Scene confirmed this. Confirmed the former WBO junior middleweight title holder tested positive for a banned substance surrounding his May 4th win over Bruno Sarase. Tijuana's Munguia was credited with a unanimous decision win in their bout in Saudi Arabia. Remember, this was on the Canelo Alvarez-Williams school card, which was a classic, in case you missed it. A post-fight urinalysis revealed an adverse finding of exogenous testosterone from testing contracted through Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, VADA. And Munguia now has 10 days from the date to notice to request the testing of his B sample, which Shantelle mentioned already. And just a further elaboration on what that means: absent proof of contamination or a different result produced by the B sample, the latter an extremely rare scenario. Munguia now faces a likely suspension and fine, along with his victory being changed to a no contest. The verdict change would also restore Saras's previously unbeaten record. So there you go.
and here's kind of the disappointing part about it is, Marlon 2631 says, I hate cheaters. It shows insecurity. You don't believe in yourself. I think him getting knocked out by Bruno obviously took a big toll on him, because that was
so much so that he used steroids.
Yeah, because listen, this is not the same type of substance that was found in Ryan Garcia. He took testosterone. And usually if your A sample tests positive, your B sample is going to come back the same. Like in a very, very rare case, Brian, does it ever test differently? Like I don't even remember the last time that I've seen that happen. So it taints not only Jaime Garcia, but he's going to get suspended for a little while. And this was obviously something that he felt like he needed to take to win that rematch. And so it's a bad look for boxing. It's a bad look for boxing when things like this happen.
Highlighted this paragraph because a lot of people are making a joke on social media like, oh, this is another guy who teamed up with Eddie Reynoso. And
I saw those comments. Yeah.
So for all you people who watch the show who are Canelo haters, because there are Canelo haters in the comments anytime we talk about Canelo Alvarez, like our boy Jesus, here's some more ammunition for you. I don't love this at all. I don't like steroids in the sport. It's way too common. As we've both said in the past, typically when you test positive for steroids, it means you did steroids. Like it's very, very rare that the test was messed up. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens here. But this isn't great from Jaime Munguia, especially if this is going to be proven so. As far as the fight itself, you see here 117, 111 twice and a 116, 112. So he won at least 8-4, couple instances 9-3. I had it 8-4. Shantelle, I think you had the same card as well as we were watching it. Yeah, not great from Jaime Munguia. Afro Soul comments, they should make Juice Part 2 starring Canelo, the Canelo team, and every boxer that's ever trained with them. Teofimo Lopez did for like a cup of coffee, trying to remember who else, but I don't think Teofimo Lopez tested positive for anything, so we're not going to put that in the air. He's nuts, but he's clean as far as we know.
Oh my God. Okay. I mean, I don't have much to say about this except for we have to wait for that B sample to come back, but I think it taints Jaime Munguia's career a little bit. It taints him. He's going to be suspended for a while, and that sucks because I felt like Jaime Munguia was on a good run. Obviously, faced Canelo, he lost that fight, but I feel like his notoriety was kind of growing at that point, and for him to then get knocked out and then be tested positive for PEDs is just not a good look, and to come back from that is going to be even tougher for him, I feel, mentally.
This from the zone. Bruno Sarase calls for defeat to Jaime Munguia to be overturned after positive test, which to be expected. Okay, so this is from The Independent, and they're posting this on their website. Okay, it's interesting. I won't get into my media bag for this for the purposes of moving this along, but that was just interesting. So here we go. Speaking about Munguia's positive test, Sarasa told The Ring, "I'm shocked by the news that Jaime Munguia tested positive for a banned substance. There is no place in boxing for cheating. The sport is dangerous enough already." I agree with that. He added, "I went to Mexico and knocked out Munguia fair and square in December, and I was gracious enough to give him a rematch in May. He knew he could not beat me on a level playing field. I trust that this result will be overturned immediately." By the way, credit to him for giving that rematch, even though I'm sure he was paid a shit ton, like like a career high purse, not by far. Like by far, he probably quadrupled a lot of his other previous payments, or even more than that. So I think that was part of it too. Not blaming him for that part of it, but just saying like he was probably offered a shit ton of money. That being said, he did give him the rematch when he didn't have to. It fucked up his undefeated record, and now coming away from this, like imagine if he knocked out Bruno Sarase. You know, luckily he did not, so he can recover in a different way, prepare for his next fight in a different way. He's not chinny, so to speak.
Yo, so here's my only question. When Jaime Munguia gets suspended and he comes back, are we getting a trilogy fight or what? Like, do we want to see a trilogy fight for this? Like, how, like, what's going to happen? There's so many questions, and it's unfortunate that he tested positive, but you know, there is no room for this sport to have cheaters in it. And it's true, it's dangerous. I would be pissed if I'm Bruno, dude.
If I'm Bruno, I don't think I'm doing it a third time, because I knocked you out. I knocked you out the first time, and the second time you pop dirty and it's a no contest, and it's like I'm good. I could actually move along here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm good. It doesn't matter at this point. And you know what the other thing that this alters in looking at just the rankings now.
Berlanga and Munguia won't happen, guys.
We'll end on this. Oh, that's the other piece of this is the fights that Jaime Munguia probably could have gotten. He probably gets like the winner of Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz. And now if he does have to go away for a while, you know, we still have to say reportedly, allegedly, whatever, but this is what it is. Yeah, a lot of those big fights go out the door.
I think it's more likely we get Berlanga and Pacheco.
So here's the thing. Jaime Munguia wins that fight. He's number 2 ranked by the WBC now. He's number 3 ranked by the WBO. Number 5 by the IBF. Bruno Sarase, who's still 8th in the IBF rankings and 8th in the WBO rankings, he's probably higher once this gets reversed. I think he should be, at least, because he took a hit following the loss, obviously, because that's how this goes. And I do wonder for him, because he would be undefeated, like, do you give him the winner of Hamza Shiraz and Edgar Berlanga? That would make sense. You know what I mean? Does he want to fight Christian Mbili? Because Top Rank is like dying to get Christian Mbili, somebody that people like casual fans have heard of. Although casual fans, I'm not sure, have heard of Christian Mbili. But you get the point. Like, there's just a lot. There's a lot of ramifications for this in a division that's low key, like deep, 168, even with the departure of David Benavidez and David Morrell, for that matter. There's just a lot here. So if Jaime Munguia goes down for this, and he'll be suspended for a while, I have a lot of questions.
At least a year. At least a year, he's going to be gone.
He could get 2.
So, yeah, it's very likely he could definitely get 2. So listen, we're going to take a look at the rankings. We're going to come back, actually, because we're going to have to talk about this when the B sample comes back. And I think we kind of know how it's going to come back, because it's rare to have go the other way. But drop your comments. Let us know how you feel about Jaime Munguia testing dirty. And on top of that, what you think that means for his career. We want to hear from you. Bryan, any final thoughts before we get up and out of here?
Knicks Pacers predictions?
I don't want to make a prediction. I said in the beginning of the series, I said if the Pacers win, they'll do it in 6. If the Knicks win, they'll do it in 7. So I think the Knicks have a good chance to get it done at home today, but they have to play their pace. They can't play the Indiana Pacers pace. There has to be consistency from guys like Mikal Bridges. You don't even shoot good off the dribble. I don't want to see you shoot off the dribble. set your feet. Like, why are you taking Trays off the dribble? Like, shot selection is going to be so important in this game.
Maddening. He had a layup and just dribbled into a 10-foot fadeaway. He doesn't get to the rim at all. It's perplexing because he actually was getting to the rim when he was with the Nets. And a little bit as a Sun. This is the worst free throw rate he's had of his career. I'm not going to get into basketball advanced analytics because I'll bore the shit out of our boxing fans. But anyway, Afro-Soul overturned the results and give him a 1-year ban. I agree.
Yep.
That sucks. But, you know, a lot of guys fight once a year as it is. Jaime Munguia doesn't. But a lot of guys fight once a year as it is. So maybe we won't feel this that much. We'll see what happens. But Christian Mbili versus Bruno Sarase coming soon, I think, maybe.
Hey, I listen, man. Props to Bruno. I'll say that much. Big props to him. He deserves to get credit for giving him that rematch. And listen, we're probably not going to get that trilogy fight, and I don't think we need it.
And I'd like to see Christian Mbili and Bruno Sarase real quick. I'd like to see them fight. Just because like they're both French, you could do it in France. That'll be cool visually on TV. Like there's if I'm Top Rank, assuming Christian Mbili gets by his challenge next month against, I think it was Sulecki. That's the fight I'd be trying to make next. Like do it in France, do it in the fall or something along those lines.
Yeah, Clifton Dennis, good friend of the show, says, how long we've been live? How much did I miss? You missed the entire show, Clifton. But you can always watch it after and drop your comments because we do see them and we will read them. Marlon says, see y'all later. Good show like always.
And to answer the notification part, Clifton, YouTube just be doing that sometimes. So just stay locked into the channel. I push the thing for people to get the push notification. If people aren't getting it, let me know. And we'll figure it out, hopefully. But yeah, we'll be back next week because it's unlikely that we're doing a post-fight live for Caleb Plant versus Resendez.
See ya.